One Piece chapter 1097 called Jenny. We got a lot to talk about, not so much time to talk about it. So let's get straight into it. The cover request is like a non-canon cover request because it's something that Kuma would do. Obviously, he's got to eat, but it's him catching salmon in a river with Jenny there. And it's like this chapter, it's about Jenny and Kuma. We're continuing that flashback. So it's like, it's cool it's cool that he chose that. So 8 years after the God Valley incident, at 17 years old, Kuma becomes a pastor. And what we're looking at right now is on Sundays, apparently he does like some kind of clinic where everybody can come through on Sundays. Any like mild illnesses or any aches and pains, he'll just extract them from them. And then obviously, humans are greedy. They're like, hey, Kuma, why you can't do this on weekdays? A grown up Jenny, she look good, says, Sundays only. And when I first read this, I was like, why not? We gonna see. We hear that all the old people in the kingdom of Sorbet that he's at right now come to Kuma for help because there's a new cold-hearted king in town. It's King, is it Bakori or something like that? Bakori might be it. But King Bakori has been laying out these crazy taxes, crazy levies, crazy laws. He's just the El King, and they got to work hard too so they can come up with the tribute so they can pay their taxes so they can still live here. If they don't, they get put in jail. So all these people get their pain and aches and mild illnesses. That's what he said that he can extract. He extracts it from everyone that he can down in southern Sorbet. And you're just left with this big old pain bubble. And we learn a little bit about Kuma's ability is that if he extracts pain from you, someone has to shoulder that burden or the pain will just come right back to you and haunt you. And every Sunday, Kuma has been taking the pain of everybody in the South. And that's crazy, bro. Now, if he was in Dragon Ball, he would have had like infinite Zenkai boosts. Like Kuma would be OP in Dragon Ball. I'm not gonna lie to you. He would be OP. We start to see kind of how the relationship between Kuma and Jenny start to develop. And I fully thought they was gonna like be a thing, but we see that Kuma is really scarred from his past. So he never really decided to take that next step. Jenny asked him to marry him, but that the memory of his father and what happened to him, how his normal wife, he said to leave her alone. He's like, I don't want to follow in them same footsteps and end up with you getting hurt as well. So this isn't something that I was like expecting or already knew was gonna happen, but there was like kind of like a gray area on how exactly that Kuma got out of the God Valley incident. And the homie Cries thought that Dragon had something to do with it. But we see that he sees his first freedom fighters. This is before the revolutionaries. You see, this is before the revolutionaries, and this is when he's a freedom fighter. So they see their bounty posters, and I can insinuate that this is the first time that he's really seen Dragon. So when Kuma was 25 years old, they started enslaving the people in the South because I guess as the years kept going on, they was paying less and less for the tributes because it's a lot of older people in the South, so it's harder for them to get money. So they just started enslaving them. Of course, Kuma's not having that, and he started to fight with the law. And what exactly ended up happening was he got put in jail. So what King Bakori decided to do was that he was gonna split the island in half. Everybody in the north that was actually paying the tributes and all that, they got to be considered citizens of Sorbet, but everybody in the south, they just got to do with them whatever they pleased. And the smart thing to do, I guess, for him was to turn them into slaves so they didn't count as citizens. So basically chopping the population of Sorbet in half so they can actually come up with the tributes. But of course, Kuma wasn't going for that. He fought with them and he had to intentionally let himself get put in jail. And then Jenny and a few other people intentionally got themselves put in jail because they was fighting with the people to get Kuma out of jail. But of course, Kuma's got to join the revolutionaries somehow. The king gets attacked, maybe killed by Ivanka and Dragon. We are introduced to the revolutionaries. Dragon and Ivanka ask Kuma to join him. Jenny says, I'm in as well, and the revolutionary army is created. So some years pass by, and Kuma every now and then comes back to Sorbet. I don't know what he does there, but of course he checks up on his people. But what needs to be noted is there's a conversation, a nice little panel that might be like literally the most important of all these, was that Dragon used to be in the Marines, and he said he found no justice there. And that's how he knows so much about weapons and fighting. Then he dipped out of the Marines. So this is another person that Garp trained up to be great, and then they ended up going to the other side. This might be the first of all the people. We've got Aokiji, Dragon, Luffy, and of course we have Kobe and Helmeppo. So that means that Garp has trained Dragon, Aokiji, Luffy, Kobe, and Helmeppo, and 3 out of those 5 individuals have turned to the other side because they found no justice with the ways of the Marines. Just kind of crazy. Now I wonder, we need a Dragon flashback. I need to know more about how Dragon became the man that he is today. And there's also something else that we need to delve into, but let's get through the chapter and then we'll talk about it. Because this is something that I kind of find interesting. Maybe it's not something that everybody else would care about, but who cares? So Jenny and Kuma did not come together because they were put on different, like they had their own different squadrons. I don't know if this was stated before this chapter or not, but Jenny is now the leader of the Eastern Squadron of the Revolutionaries. Now I would assume Kuma had to be the Northeast, the North, South, or the West, and they weren't together. They had their own squadrons that did their own things, and Jenny is excited because this is coming close to the day that both of their squadrons come together to work together, and she obviously wants to be with Kuma. But the shitty part is at the end of the chapter, little time goes by and some of the fodder revolutionaries runs up the Dragon and says, hey, Jenny's been captured, to be continued. Not on break. We take those. Not on break. Now here's what I want to talk about, because there was a lot that happened in this chapter, specifically kind of, I guess, developing really how Kuma became who he is. You know, even though like we already know, just Kuma's he's just a good guy. He's a good guy. And I believe next chapter, it might continue this Kuma flashback because I feel like there's still a lot more that we need to learn. So next chapter might continue that Kuma flashback. And then if we do the rest of this Kuma flashback, then we might go back to the God Valley flashback, because right now we're learning about Kuma. So maybe like the end all be all of this is we're learning something that pertains to something that would have confused us about God Valley. So maybe we'll learn about Kuma, or something that Kuma does, or something that Kuma knows, or something pertaining to Kuma that would have confused us if we saw it this chapter like we were supposed to last chapter, because the God Valley flashback cut out, or I'm saying this for no reason, and we're just going to learn about the Kuma flashback so Kuma can come in and save Bonnie. So there's 3 things that I'm wondering about. When did Bonnie get concepted? Because this is the end of this chapter is 14 years ago. Luffy is 5 years old right now. And this kind of puts a weird situation if even later on, because we seen that Kuma, I don't even know if Kuma is Bonnie's real dad or not anymore, but Kuma was in like the little flashback that Bonnie had before they fought Saturn. Kuma was already the king of Sorbet when she had that flashback where Kuma was holding her. And this flashback right now, 14 years ago, Kuma's still a revolutionary 14 years ago. So when does Bonnie come about? Because I don't want this to become a weird, pedo situation with anybody that ever had any kind of any kind of any kind of admiration for Bonnie. If she's like truly 8 years old, like that's weird. And I ain't trying to put no points like that on Sanji, because you know how Sanji is. That's the first thing that I'm wondering about. I really hope that Oda clears that up, because that's the first thing that was on my mind as soon as I read this chapter. Because I don't want none of them points on Sanji. Let's just hope that Bonnie is Bonnie, And I guess it could be a weird thing that whatever her age is, like that's what she is. But like, I'm not even about to go into the details of that. Second of all, I really want to know about the details of what Dragon. We need that Dragon flashback bad, because if Dragon was in the Navy, obviously he was influenced to join the Navy by his father, which means that this adds points to Garp, because Garp might only be in the Navy so that it doesn't become like Garp might be the only thing stopping the Navy from becoming like fully corrupt. Because if you think about it, Garp wants everyone to join the Navy. And everyone that has joined the Navy that Garp has influenced or, took under his wing has learned the truth about the Navy and how corrupt it is. So maybe Garp really doesn't want to be in the Marines himself, but he is maybe the only anchor stopping the Navy from becoming like the celestial dragons with drippy suits on. You know what I mean? Because Kobe, Helmeppo, Luffy, and now Dragon, they all know the truth about the Marines, that they're fucked up, So I really want to know. I need that Dragon flashback bad, bro. I need that bad, bro. There's like so much we don't know, bro. So much, bro. And Dragon, I can't wait for that one. I can't wait for that one. Now let's continue on about Dragon. Now this is something that really just interests me, and that's this mark that's on his face, right? If we go and we look back to when Dragon saved Kuma, that was 22 years ago, no mark on his face. But that little symbol that was on his face, it could be like a mark of liberation or something like that. And that's just what he decided to draw on his face. Or it could mean something more. Whatever it is, I'd like to know. Let us know in a SBS or something, right? 22 years ago, no mark on his face, but he had it on like this cloth band on his leg, right? With the 3-star on the, 8 years later, the marks on his face. So sometime between the conception of Luffy and Jenny being captured, right? So from 22 years ago to 8 years ago, Dragon decided to draw on his face. Or Dragon decided to get like a curse mark or, some kind of power up. You know what I mean? Let us know, please and thank you. SBS Dragon flashback. Let us know about that mark on his face. I would love to know. And let me know what you guys think about today's chapter. It's a chapter where not a lot, it's one of those where not a lot really happened, but it is very good for filling up very important holes in the plot of One Piece. And I can't wait for chapter 1098. We are 3 chapters away. Well, after 1090, 3 chapters away from 1,100 chapters of One Piece. Oda, you legend. Let me know what you guys think about this chapter, if you liked it or you didn't. And then the things that we talked about after the chapter. Bonnie, how she came about, if Jenny even is Bonnie's real mom, but Jenny looks just like Bonnie, looks just like her. Is Jenny Bonnie? Oh, wait, right? Nah. They look just alike, which means that if Kuma and Jenny got together, had Bonnie, that's not really a good thing for like the real life, drama that will create from that. You know what I mean? Because that means that Bonnie's like 5-6 years old. Not good. That mark on Dragon's face and Dragon's childhood and his time in the Marines. What do you guys think about that? And what do you think about that mark on his face? What is that, bro? Or did Oda already answer this question and I'm saying this for no reason? Let me know in the comments because I need to know. And yeah, man, W chapter.